Welcome to the District 6 NRAC meeting for January 8th, 2021. It's 9:01, and just to let everyone know, this meeting is being recorded, so it will be available afterwards for anyone to access in case you need to review any of the discussion that we had today. And with that, I will turn it over to our chair, Zachary Smith.
Hi, everyone. So just a few points to take care of. If you're not sure, you put yourself on. Stephanie, can you everyone?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Can you mute everyone? I'm getting background on somebody. Terrible.
Okay, everybody should be muted. Yep. Good. Just remember that when you want to speak, to unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Stephanie. I think that'll help everybody hear everybody more clearly.
Okay, let's move to the roll call.
Yep, so yeah, roll call.
Alex Chika.
Here.
Thomas Kurian. Marilyn Kenner.
Here.
Martha Morgan.
Here.
Amy Reher.
Here.
Dave Royer. All right, I know he's here. I've seen him. There he is. All right, he is here. RP Smolka. Zachary Svet.
Here.
John Woolard.
Here.
Okay. And Aaron Young. I see him here. All right. We have a
Got it here. Sorry, Steph.
That's okay. That's all right.
All right. Thank you, Steph. And next up is approval of the minutes from the September 10th meeting. I need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Who was this one from? Sorry.
Martha Morgan.
Thank you, Martha.
You want to do a roll call, or do you want to do just all in favor?
Whichever one you're comfortable with.
Let's do a roll call.
Okay. Alex Chika.
Yes.
TJ Kurian. Marilyn Kenner.
Yes.
Martha Morgan.
Yes.
Amy Reher.
Yes.
Dave Royer. Right. And RP Smolka. Zach Svet. Was that a yes, Zach?
Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. John Woolard.
Yes.
Thank you. And Aaron Young.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So next up is the round 15 final applicant presentations / discussions with project representatives. So first up, we have the City of Struthers. I'll kind of hand it back over to you, Steph, since I know you know kind of who's on the call for the City of Struthers.
Okay, so for the City of Struthers, we have Gary DiOrio, who is the city's engineer and who had worked on and developed the WRRSP application for the dam removal and stream restoration project. And we have the mayor on as well, I believe. I know I saw her. Oh, there she is. Yes. Mayor Saccone.
Hi, I also have Frank DeMarco from our stormwater, have our safety service director.
Okay. And Gary, would you like to, well, I would guess, let's entertain any questions or discussions, or Gary, do you have anything you want to present beforehand?
How do you want it done? I mean, I would have like a little brief presentation explaining the application. And I have Neil Hess on the call also, that he could try and explain or answer any questions relative to the stream restoration part of the project. So I can dive into it if that's all right with everyone.
Yeah, please.
Okay, well, this application is requesting funding for stream restoration items relative to a much larger project that the City of Struthers is underway trying to put together with the WRRSP program, which is the Water Resources Restoration Sponsorship Program through the Ohio EPA. And they were able to get funding for removal of a low-head dam that's in Struthers, left over from the old steel mill days. And it involved removal of sediment, treating that sediment, disposal of the sediment, and the dam demolition, and also stream restoration following that, the dam removal. Okay, so the project that the city is is a total of about $2.3 million. Part of it paid for by the WRSP funds, and part of it paid from an LTV bankruptcy fund that Eastgate is administering that money. So this whole project dates back to 2017 when the original application went in, and the city then hired a design build team, and they're underway right now completing the design work, and it's anticipated that the dam removal would be conducted early in 2021, and then the stream restoration would be later on this summer in 2021. Okay, this application, we're requesting $831,900 in Clean Ohio money, which basically is the cost of the stream restoration items, which include a lot of grade controls, stream bank protection, storm outlet protection. I'm looking at some of my notes here. Let's see, I mentioned grade controls, and also any type of bank protection that would inhibit any type of I don't know, what do you call them? The invasive species. So the river, once the dam is removed, the water level naturally will be lower, and the stream restoration and the bank restoration would need to be done at that point. Now, I could, the whole project area, okay, and we presented that in the environmental covenants that we had to do for the Ohio EPA. And this application required basically another type of environmental covenant. So we have like the environmental covenant on the environmental covenant. So the whole boundary is basically on property that the city of Struthers owns, which is in the river, top of bank to top of bank, basically between Bridge Street and Bob Way Bridge. And that's a distance of about 3,000 feet and maybe about 150, 180 feet wide. That's the area that the design build team's concentrating on and, you know, putting their design together for them. The Army Corps of Engineers permit has been received, and it's contingent on the Ohio EPA issuing their water quality certification permit, which Neil Hess and the guys at
Okay. What number do you want? The 51, the number you're calling on?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll look it up. And then he should.
Somebody was talking. Okay.
Am I the only one getting a ton of feedback from Karen?
This is Stephanie. They still can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Stephanie, can you hear me? Karen, can you mute yourself? Okay. Karen, can you mute yourself? Can you mute Karen?
Okay, guys.
Gary, just
Sorry, Gary.
That's all right.
Stephanie, can you just mute Karen for us, please?
There you go.
Okay. You guys can hear me okay? All right. All right. I was explaining the project area, okay, which is basically the river. It's property owned by the city of Struthers and also some property owned by the city of Camel. And they've provided us with letters of support and authorized the city to utilize their property to gain access to where the dam is located and to be able to do all this stream work, you know, from the city of Camel's side. Okay. The main objective of the whole project is to improve the water quality of the Mahoning River. There have been a lot of studies that have been done over the years here recently where
It's not muted.
the EPA found that if the rivers were free flowing, then the water quality would improve. Fish would be able to migrate better, and the whole entire river would improve water quality wise, and then it also would benefit a lot of the cities where they discharge their wastewater treatment plants into the Mahoning River, and that would help them meet the warm water habitat of the designation that is for the Mahoning River. Okay, so at this point, I want to bring in Neil, and he can explain some of the stream restoration items that they plan on doing. They have identified 4 areas within that stretch, that 3,000 foot stretch of the river. And once all this work is done, at this point, there'll be about a 15-mile stretch of the Mahoning River from Struthers down into Pennsylvania. That'll be free flowing and free from all of these dam pools. And the sediment will be removed, and through Eastgate, they're moving upstream, trying to remove some of the dams in Youngstown, which also has been recently funded by the Ohio EPA under that WRRSP program. And now we've just received word that the city of Warren has a dam that they are going to be funded by the Ohio EPA also. So it's just one part of the removal of 9 dams. Lowville Dam's been removed, and we're just trying to open up this whole river to better water quality. So Neil, go ahead if you want to explain, some of those stream restoration recommendations. And Stephanie, if you have that one figure that shows those typical sections.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you want me to pull those up.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with everybody.
Sure.
But Neil, go ahead if you want to start with those.
Sure. Thank you, Gary. First I just want to emphasize that with the money that is currently available through the WRSP fund and the LTV settlement funds, there's sufficient money to remove the dam and to dredge sediment. But there isn't the money to do the high-level river restoration that we would like to do following the dam and sediment removal, and which would greatly benefit the river, aquatic habitat, species diversity in this section of the river, etc. So we have identified 4 primary areas that would be suitable, really ideal for river restoration activities. These were identified after doing extensive biological and morphological assessments of the river throughout this area. Also after doing extensive hydraulic modeling to determine, where the morphology of the river is best suited. A lot of our proposed restoration activities center upon improving river habitat with improved subgrade material. When we talk about grade control, essentially what those are the installation of riffle features in the river. And as you can imagine, on a river of this size and with its velocity of water during flood events, the riffle features have to be substantial in order not to just get washed away. So we've identified several of those that would be placed within the river to not only provide grade control benefit, but also to provide habitat and water quality improvement. There's portions of the river where by kind of narrowing it down, creating some floodplains in the river, it will also help its morphology. So we have those proposed, I think, in 4 different areas where we would be doing some work at the toe of slope, kind of creating floodplains, mini floodplains within the river itself. We have identified a lot of planting that would occur within the riparian corridor. Since I know it was after the application was submitted, but we've continued our design process. We have developed a couple additional drawings that show areas where plantings would occur, where floodplain plantings will occur. We've even listed in those drawings the number and type of species that are being proposed for planting. So, I might have missed something, but the goal is really to improve aquatic habitat, improve water quality, so that in addition to getting the dam and the sediment removed, we're also really setting a strong foundation for full recovery over the long term. I also want to stress that in the numbers that Gary provided in the application, the cost for treating, managing the sediment, for disposing of leachate that comes off the sediment, none of that's included in the Clean Ohio project costs. Those costs are strictly related to the river restoration, the sediment removal from the river, and the actual river restoration itself, not treating, disposal, remediation of sediment. And I think that's about all I have. Happy to try to answer any questions that I can. I also want to stress that there's no engineering and design costs in the requested Clean Ohio funding. It is going to be a shovel-ready project. We are completing the engineering and design phase. We are, as soon as the permits are received, then we'll be ready to move into construction work. We're estimating probably another 2 to 3 months to get the Ohio EPA water quality certification received. And a little bit of that depends upon whether this funding is provided, because that'll influence a little bit of the permitting activity. And then, of course, the timing also depends upon how the river behaves. And in the spring, it's usually pretty big. So kind of ideal restoration times for the river would be June, July, that time of year.
Yeah, we definitely would need the weather to cooperate during this project. That's for sure.
Yep.
Stephanie, keep that drawing up there. I just wanted to discuss a.
I bumped something. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right.
Here we go.
I just wanted to discuss a secondary enhancement for this project would be economic development in the downtown area of the city of Struthers. As you can see on the south side of the river is a large open area, and the mayor can speak on this, where she's been talking with the property owners there, trying to work out a plan to provide some type of, a larger sports complex other than, the baseball fields, which are a little further to the south there. And also the city completed last year a study that was funded by Eastgate, a planning study. It's kind of a way to try and bring pedestrians downtown for use at the restaurants, to walk around the river, and try and get more economic development in that downtown area. And they called it a placemaking study. And that's contained in the application also. You guys can see the types of projects that the city is interested in doing. And then also last year, the city received an ODNR grant to build a non-motorized boat ramp, which is proposed to be outside of our work area, but to the west of where the Bobstein Bridge is, there on the left-hand side of that drawing. And that'll be on right there. That's Bobstein Bridge. And that boat ramp will be constructed in 2021, and that'll provide access for kayakers. And like I said, it's a non-motorized thing, kayakers, canoeists. So they could get on the river, make their way down to Lowellville, which also has projects in mind to build a similar type of boat ramp. So this project would enhance all of those particular items. Now, Mayor, if you wanted to talk a little bit about what you guys are planning to do on that property there.
Yes, I would love to. If that's
Go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so as you guys know, the river is one of the biggest assets that we have here in Struthers. We have a great working relationship with Camel, with Youngstown, with Lowville. One of the bigger projects that we've been working on since the beginning of last year is a sports complex utilizing that huge chunk of land to the south of the river. We are getting closer and closer. Hopefully soon we're going to be making some kind of press release soon, but we're working out a lot of the details. Like Gary said, one of the things that we did early in the beginning of the last year, right where the marker was, we did do the grant through ODNR and we did receive that. We have a lot of plans to be able to utilize this river. And we're hoping that will just take its way and turn on to all the economic development we want in downtown Struthers. It's one of the largest focus areas we have in the city, and we want to highlight it. So being able to get rid of this dam and have it more user-friendly and have a walkable downtown is really important to the growth of our city.
Yeah, that's good, Mayor. That's pretty much all of the information that we wanted to provide. I know it's a large application. There's a lot of information in there. The part 2 project evaluation questions that were part of that application, there's a lot of detailed answers to those. If you guys have any questions, just let me know, or even after the meeting, if you need some type of clarification, just let me know. But other than that, that's pretty much the whole presentation of the application at this point.
Thank you, Gary. I think
Guys.
at this point, we'll just entertain some questions from the NRAC.
Actually, I have one. Can you give us an updated schedule? I know we asked for that, and we may not have received that from you guys. Can you give us an updated schedule on the project?
The only updated thing that I had was on the application itself. Let me see if I can call that up here real quick. Hold on.
That's okay.
Let's see. Okay, at the bottom of the third page of the actual application, the OPWC application had
Yeah.
planning and implementation. Okay, really, the city started this October of 2019, which was the start date of the design build teams contract. And we expect to have all this design work done by April of 2021. Then the land acquisition, that was all done that started in September of 18 and was done in September of 19. So those properties were owned by other entities. The city went in and through their law director at the time was able to acquire that part of the river. That large lot was created, and that's where the all this work is going to be done. Now, the site improvements we have from April 1st of 21 to the end of December of 2021. Now, at this point, we don't know when the EPA is going to come up with their water quality certification. It has delayed the project somewhat and has delayed the design build team from completing their entire design work and getting onto the river to try and start removing some of the debris, the dam itself, and the sediment. But it's kind of, we're kind of up against one department of the EPA is holding up another department of the EPA, okay, from getting this project started. So we're trying to work through that. And I know, Neil, if you have any other comments about the water quality certification, what you guys have been doing to try and get that approved.
Yeah, we actually had a conference call yesterday with the Ohio EPA regarding the certification. There's a couple additional documents that they've requested that we will be preparing. Once those have been submitted, which I anticipate will be in the month of January, Ohio EPA will do their public notice. So there's a month-long public notice period where they collect comments. During that time period, they will also hopefully be finalizing their technical review, so that when that's finished, we can respond to any comments that are received, and then hopefully the permit will be forthcoming pretty quickly afterwards. So, I think kind of even taking a step back, initially when we initiated this project, we did not anticipate needing a 401 water quality certification. We thought we would be able to achieve this project with solely a nationwide permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. Unfortunately, as the Army Corps started to evaluate the project, they felt that a 401 was needed, and that kind of pushed us into that arena. So again, it's certainly delayed things some, but it wasn't anticipated at the beginning, and that's kind of, if you ask me, the beauty of these design build restoration projects is, we're able to more nimbly react to unexpected situations and address them. And this is one of those situations during a project. But I expect that within the next, I would hope 3 months, we will have that water quality certification. Engineering and design is substantially complete, pending any changes that result from the permit process. But I think we'll be ready to go definitely by the time that weather conditions will allow us to be safely working on the river.
Yeah, and if the OPWC issues this grant to the city of Struthers, that will most likely be after July 1st of 2021. Is that right, Stephanie? Is that when they usually issue those just like they do the other programs?
So once we vote on January 22nd and send it down to Linda, she has the final sign off. So we're looking anywhere between March, the earliest, till June, June of this year to get their final sign off. So I believe you have about a year to 2 years to use the funding. So
Okay.
I believe the way the time frame is with this WRRSP project, especially the stream restoration projects, you should fall into that expending the funds by then. But
Yeah,
I mean,
and I would think
all the
that the schedule,
communication you could have with Donna would help, keep her in the loop as far as your project schedule, because it is contingent upon that dam removal and the weather.
right.
For that. Mhm.
But the thing is, most of the stream restoration will occur later on this year, which will coincide with the schedule that OPWC will issue the grant funds. So everything's going to work out, if weather cooperates, the EPA cooperates, we get the permits, and the contractor gets on the river and starts his work. And the restoration will occur right when the grant money will be available. So we hope our schedule is right on the money.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Anybody else have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Zach, I have a question for both Gary and Neil. I guess maybe it's probably better suited for Neil, but I don't want to preclude Gary from
That's all right.
offering any type of comment. Thanks for taking the time to kind of summarize what the application was. As you alluded to, it's quite extensive. I mean, I'm looking at 309 pages of an application, of which my question is I with regards to Neil's summary of all of the stream restoration activities, I'm hopeful that somebody can point out to me where that is in the application, because I don't see any of that in the application. And what I see is a WRSP grant.
Hey, a lot of that information, Aaron, in the attachment. The final project management plan, which we included as attachment number 2. Okay, that was a report that Neil Hess and his group completed, which basically explains in more detail what we tried to explain to you guys today. Okay. Recorded environmental covenant, that's the requirement that the EPA under the WRSP program required. That's attachment 3. City resolution is attachment 4. That Struthers placemaking and connectivity study that I mentioned, that includes all of the other projects and economic development type projects that they want to do in the downtown area. That's attachment 5. There's another map.
Gary, I think this is Alex. I think Aaron's question is really, what is the Tino Howe money going to be used for? I think it's not very clear. To Aaron's point, there's a WRSP application that's been recycled here, but those two things aren't asking for the same thing, is what I'm gathering here. And so if there's some real clear understanding on what this Tino Howe is going to be paying for and a plan for that, that would be very helpful for the NRAC.
Yeah, I could jump in if you want, Gary.
Yeah, go ahead, Neil, if you want to try that.
Yeah, so the Clean Ohio money would be used for upgrade placement. So that would be, putting back in the boulders and the cobble to develop an appropriate subgrade. It'll be used for building the floodplain benches within the river. It'll be used for work along the toe of slope, putting in subgrade material and woody material along the toe of slope of the river. And that is important. It'll help to protect from future erosive force along the side of the river. It'll be used to put in to do planting, vegetation planting on the floodplains and on the and within the riparian corridor, things like live stakes, floodplain seed, building the riffles within the river. Those type of activities would be how the Clean Ohio money would be used.
Yeah, the one other thing is in my engineer's estimate, which is attachment 7, where we mentioned that we identified the 4 areas, and I split the items, the cost items, relative to each one of those 4 areas. They're all listed there, from excavation, embankment, to grade control, stones, stormwater control, so on. If you look through that, Aaron, that might help you, see the specific items and the quantities of excavation and the amount of stone that'll be placed there.
Yeah, that's part of one of the reasons why I ask. I guess some of it is just going through here to make sure I'm following with what you're referring to as the attachments. I have attachments A through E, and then it jumps right to 3, attachment 3.
Oh, okay.
I don't see attachment 1 or attachment 2, and what you're talking to, I see no reference of that in the application. The plans that Stephanie had, there were several of those that were contained in what we called attachment number 9, which is the Army Corps of Engineers plans that was submitted for the permitting. Okay.
And there's specific design sheets that show the cross sections of the river, where the excavation is going to be, and the quantities for each one of those 4 areas, right, Neil? Is that?
They do, and they also show cross sections which will demonstrate, the subgrade, what the final river subgrade will look like after the new material has been placed. There are some typical sections included that kind of show. It's kind of hard to visualize what subgrade looks like, so there's just some typical sections that kind of show what that rock and cobble is going to look like, and that's what kind of benefits the fish and the macroinvertebrates. I will also say, since Gary submitted this plan, we have furthered some of those designs a little bit. I'd be happy to send the final set to Stephanie that she can share with you. I think it's a little bit easier to see some of the restoration features on the set that has been furthered. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll go through this. Obviously, if there's something there that I missed, I want to keep everybody on hold here waiting for that.
Yeah, we can provide those, Aaron. That's not a problem.
Okay. And then my last question would be just with regards to overall eligibility of the project. I mean, I think a lot of us have talked in the past about our support for taking the dams out of the river. There's a large contingent of us that support those moves. With regards to the ultimate work and the final product that we're going to be having, Clean Ohio is pretty detailed with regards to what is eligible and what isn't eligible. And I'd be remiss if I didn't identify that, one of the things that they ask is hydro modification related projects. And one of them is the use of channelization, dredging, sediment, or riprap. And if any of that's used, it precludes the Clean Ohio. What's the thinking there?
I kind of think we're reversing those. I think the goal of the project is to reverse those historic hydro modifications. Unfortunately, we can't take the Mahoning River back to, pre-human pristine conditions. So I think what we're doing is trying to do as much as we can with the constraints that we have. And to do that, we have to get the old sediment out, the contaminated sediment. We have to bring in fresh, healthy, appropriate subgrade. We have to narrow in the channel and develop those floodplain benches where we can. And again, it's not the pre-condition, but it's as close as we can get it today. And we think it sets a really good foundation for the future. But I just look at it as the opposite of those historic impacts and trying to set it back to a condition that it can flourish.
Yeah. And prior to the application being submitted, Aaron, we did have a call with Donna Kirkbride at OPWC, and we discussed, what we plan to do there. And she felt that there was no hydro modification to doing any type of stream work, just to try and, once the dams were out, we were just going to be restoring the stream banks, the existing stream banks the best we can.
Yeah.
So she felt that kept the project eligible. And that
might be nice to have.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for myself. It might be nice to have something from OPWC that talks about that, because I don't want to be a limiting factor, but I also don't want to score a project that, when I look at the criteria, tells me that if we're using any type of riprap for erosion control, it makes it ineligible.
And I'll also say, we won't be using any riprap. It'll all be natural rock material. It'll be a natural river restoration project. And I think some of the updated plans that have been developed since the application was submitted might help to represent that a little bit better.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we might want to try and submit those updated plans, Neil.
I can do that. I'll send those up to Stephanie.
Yeah, send those up to Stephanie, and she can be included in the whole package.
Absolutely.
It's going to be even larger now.
I will only include the pertinent sheets.
Okay. Yeah, we apologize.
Thanks, Gary and Neil. I got a couple questions for you guys. In terms of the engineering and design, where in the application you guys talk about the habitat vegetation restoration? Where's that at in there? Like what kind of trees you're planting, what kind of seed mixes, what kind of excavation you're going to do to help promote diverse vegetation, all that stuff. We talked about, floodplain connectivity. I'd like to just understand that a little bit more.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be on the plans that Neil's going to be sending to Stephanie, right, Neil?
Yeah, I'm not sure those sheets were available when Gary's prepared the Clean Ohio additional application. There are species lists, lists of the live stakes and trees that will be planted in the final plan set that I'll be sending to Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie, I guess we just have to be cognizant of the fact that we have deadlines for a reason, and we have a completeness review for a reason as well. I love this project. I just want to be honest with you guys, but we also have to follow the guidelines of this NRAC. And if we're letting information come in after the date of the completeness review, then there's going to be a door open for somebody to do that in the future, and we got to be very careful as an NRAC about that. So I just want to make that statement. But thank you guys for that. Another question more for the NRAC and maybe Donna. It's been my understanding that, I guess I should just ask the question, is bankruptcy funding eligible as matching funding? My understanding in the past is it's not, but we should have clarity from Donna or Linda on that before we go forward. Maybe you guys have already got that. Have you?
Yeah, that was part of the discussion that we had with Donna before the application was originally submitted, on that we were going to use the LTV funds as a local match.
Okay.
Yeah, those funds have been with the Army Corps of Engineers for such a long time that I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we worked out with the Ohio EPA and Army Corps of Engineers, such as Eastgate, EPA, Army Corps, worked together to release those funds so that they can be used specifically for Mahoning River restoration projects. So they pretty much have put it in Eastgate's hands to divvy out those LTV funds. So that's why Struthers and Youngstown are getting pieces of that funding. So essentially, it was held by the Army Corps.
Yeah, I get all that, Stephanie. My point and what we've understood historically is that anytime anybody's mandated to put money or restore habitat or mitigate to that money in that project, then can't be used as a match towards Clean Ohio. Because Clean Ohio is essentially voluntary. But if you guys talk to Donna and Linda, then that's fine. I mean, obviously they're gonna see it later, but that's good enough for now. And just a clarification, the application kind of went back and forth about public access, but from what I can take, there is no immediate public access plan for the property that has been submitted. Is that correct?
What do you mean, Alex?
There won't be any public access to the I think it's 18 acres, to the 18-acre property that you're submitting to Clean Ohio. Is that right?
Well, not at this, I mean, not during the project, if that's what you're
Correct.
referring to.
No, not during the project. I mean, there's not a plan going forward that says there's going to be a fishing pier at this part of the project and there's going to be a boat access on this part of the project. It looked to me like you had public access initiatives and plans in the city, but they're really outside of this project's acreage. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. The last question I have, and this is maybe more a Don and NRAC question, is that this project's in 2 cities. Sounds like you have a lot of support from Camel, but technically I think they should have a resolution of support. What do folks think about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the only thing we have is the letters from the mayor that's allowing Struthers to utilize the property. And basically, it's just for the contractor to have access to the site. Really not any restoration work being done on Camel's property. It's just to provide the access to the river on the north side and to where the dam is located. That's where the Camel property comes in.
So won't the Clean Ohio restrictions go on the Camel property since it's part of the project?
You broke up there, Alex. I didn't get you.
Won't the Clean Ohio deed restrictions go on the Camel property since it's part of the project?
The city of Camel signed off on the environmental covenant because the Ohio EPA required Struthers to provide an environmental covenant for the Struthers properties and the Camel properties and then the overall property. So there's actually 3 restrictions, one signed by Camel, one signed and 2 signed by Struthers. So, you know, the property does have those same restrictions.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you.
That's all part of the OPWC certificate of restrictions too. I don't think I called it the right thing, but it's all included with OPWC's paperwork.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
I'm good.
Anyone else with any additional questions or comments?
I was just going to note the public access. I do believe that we're planning to leave our access roads into the dam removal area so that it can be utilized for public access in the future if desired.
Thank you, Neil.
Mhm.
Anybody else from our NRAC have any questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, Stephanie, Mill Creek Metroparks, their project.
Okay, Mill Creek Metroparks. Looks like we have Justin Rogers, and of course Aaron, and Alex from Western Reserve.
Yeah. I can start it off. Good morning, everybody. Happy 2021. Hopefully it's a lot better than 2020. And Western Reserve Land Conservancy is going to lead this presentation, facilitating this Clean Ohio project in partnership with Mill Creek Metroparks. Give me 1 second here and I'll pull up can everybody see this?
Perfect.
What are you looking at right now?
Trees.
Okay.
Probably the second slide in the presentation.
Okay, sorry about that. Again, welcome everybody. I'm excited to present the Springfield Forest Preserve project to the District 6 NRAC in partnership with Mill Creek Metroparks. Just a few quick photos to start off the presentation. This is primarily almost entirely forested property in Springfield Township, Mahoning County. Here we're looking kind of north over a historic quarry pond as part of part of the property. Here's an access road that currently exists in the property, which lends itself very well to future public access when Mill Creek is ready to open this to full public access. This was a food plot historically from the previous landowner, but kind of just an open meadow that's indicative of some of the habitat diversity on the property. Again, another photo of the hardwood forest that exists on the property. Some more photos, some pretty nice trees. You'll see that we use timber value as part of the overall value for the property. So there was significant trees in the property that came up with that value. Aerial photo of the property, 88 acres, again, in Springfield Township, Mahoning County. You see the quarry pond that kind of borders the eastern extent of the property, which is kind of unique feature. You don't see this on every property. It's pretty steep to get down there, but pretty deep pond as well that provides some fishing opportunities in the future. So this is pretty straightforward acquisition project for Clean Ohio. Looking to acquire, Mill Creek Metroparks is looking to acquire 88 acres, again in Springfield Township. And then the Mill Creek Metroparks will create trail system and public access as a part of this into the future. None of those costs are a part of this application. That will be on Mill Creek going forward, and they can talk a little bit about that when we get into long-term ownership and management of the project. Some of the partnerships involved here, just to show who supported this. Ducks Unlimited, great partner of Mill Creek, and also the Land Conservancy supported this. For the upland conservation, we had Senator Ruley provided us a letter, provided Mill Creek a letter, and then Clean Museum of Natural History and Western Reserve Land Conservancy contributed $500 towards the acquisition of this project. Project budget, total project cost is about $390,000. Mill Creek Metroparks is asking for $293,000, which is 75% of the full budget. Matching funds came in the form of Mill Creek Metroparks cash, bargain sale, and then the two $500 commitments from Western Reserve Land Conservancy and Cleveland Museum of Natural History. Ownership and public access. Justin Rogers, if you'd like to jump in now and just talk a little bit about the property and how you guys plan to manage it going forward.
Sure. Thanks, Alex. Good morning, everybody. What we've done with a lot of our recent acquisitions and our preserve areas has been developing a natural resources management plan for all of those facilities. We're nearing about a half dozen that are completed, and what it does is it identifies, what the existing conditions are, being able to see what the habitat composition is, and then in taking what that is, seeing where our opportunities are for public access, for further preservation, for potentially future restoration of various areas, all wrapped into that natural resources management plan. So, we'll obviously take a lot of what's provided there. Alex, showed some photos of the access. There are some existing trails through there. Obviously, the pond is going to be a significant draw, and then the varying habitat as well. So we've already started on some survey work to define what our inventory is out there, and we'll take that further. So the plan will kind of dictate how we utilize this property. There will be public access. As you mentioned, none of this type of access, restoration, or development is part of the Clean Ohio request. It's something that we've had great success with our other Metroparks preserves, and quite honestly, we're really excited to have a physical presence here in the Springfield Township at the southeast corner of Mahoning County. It's within the Yellow Creek watershed, which is really important. You know, tying into Struthers, we have obviously Yellow Creek Park near the confluence of Mahoning River, and this is, you know, certainly farther upstream and will benefit points downstream. So, you know, great opportunity that we're looking for here, and we appreciate our partnership with Western Third Land Conservancy.
Thanks, Justin. Just to reiterate that this map here obviously shows the red property is the property that would be being acquired, and this is a conservation and public access island. So it's really important to provide equitable access to the people of Springfield Township, and that, you know, they'll have close access to publicly accessible parks here in the future, which is, you know, something we all strive for as being part of this NRAC in Clean Ohio. Some of the natural resources, just real quick on the site, nothing too crazy except the bobcat, which I think is pretty cool. And we actually have a game cam photo of that bobcat from the current owner, which is pretty interesting, but nothing super rare. But just an all around good, diverse project with, you know, older growth forest habitat, young forest habitat, early successional habitat, and some open meadows, and, you know, stream corridors, and also aquatic habitat in the pond. So, you know, really kind of a good mix of a lot of different things. Definitely a good habitat for migrating neotropical birds, with all the understory and early successional habitat that does exist on the property. Western Reserve Land Conservancy will hold a conservation easement on this property, and all mineral rights are being purchased as part of the purchase contract. Here's the photo of the bobcat. Really hard to see, but definitely is a bobcat, and happened to be in one of those food plots that we showed you a picture of earlier. The plan, Justin talked about this plan. So here's the conceptual plan of what the project and the park will look like. A couple different things to note: the parking area, some fishing access, obviously the yellow or hiking trails, and some of the habitat types delineated in this map. So a nice little conceptual map. And fortunately, we walked this property, and where the yellow lines are, there's really a lot of existing trails. So for Mill Creek Metroparks, it's not going to be a huge investment to get this open fairly quickly, because these trails exist. It's not like you have to cut new trails in with a bulldozer and chainsaw. They exist. They're earthen, but they exist, and it's a nice way to get people, you know, involved in nature pretty cheaply and easily. Partnerships and coordination, again, you know, Museum, Ducks Unlimited, the Ohio Senate, Western Reserve Land Conservancy. This was part of several local plans: Eastgate plans, Yellow Creek Watershed Action Plan, and the Springfield Township Balanced Growth Plan. Immediacy, this property is actively for sale with Mossy Oak Properties. So if we're unable to purchase the property, it will be, you know, open to the market, and somebody else could easily sweep in and buy this, and we would lose the opportunity to conserve this and to also create a publicly accessible amenity. Just the last picture of a nice tree. One of our natural resource biologists always hangs his hat on the tree to give you a sense of scale, but just an ascending picture. Any questions?
How soon do you hope to be able to open the site to public access?
Once we go through, obviously, the Clean Ohio grant process and get it under control, you know, there's certain improvements that we want to make, obviously, to make it accessible and safe. So, you know, what was shown there in terms of the drive access, there is a small pull-off parking area, and as Alex mentioned, the existing network of trails. What we'd really like to do is do a more thorough survey of existing conditions, the improvements that we would like to make, including signage, trail markers, trail improvements. So, you know, I don't want to put a time frame on it and say, you know, it'll be opened up, you know, at the end of this year once the project's concluded. I would think it's very reasonable that at least by some point next year, it will be open and functional. You know, we obviously want to make sure that it's safe We want to know more about the property, quite honestly, and that will take some time. If it happens that it's towards the end of the year, that's phenomenal. But we'll be working, like I said, we already are with doing some additional survey work out there, looking into research, how the property was used, etc. in the past, and be able to apply all of that to our plan. So we'll get it opened concurrently with the development of the Natural Resources Management Plan.
Any other questions or comments from our NRAC board? Okay. Anything else? One last time. We'll move on. Thank you guys for the presentation. We'll move on to open discussion. Anything for the committee? Stephanie, can you remind us of dates and times for our next meeting, please?
The next meeting is Friday, January 22nd, 2021, 9 a.m. Same format, WebEx. I will be sending out the link for it. If I haven't already, I'll resend it. And final scores are due to me, if you wouldn't mind, please, on Thursday, January 21st, by at least 3 o'clock. So I can put them all into our spreadsheet and have it ready for the next morning.
Stephanie, are you going to send out that electronic version of scoring, or how did you want us to do that?
The methodology?
Yeah.
Yes, I can resend it. If you don't have it, I will send it again.
Well, I think I have what we ended up with, but I don't know if there was any other final edits to what the cells were, how they were calculating and all that, if you recall.
I think there was one thing that I had to, you know what it was? I had updated the completeness review section of that. Not that that is any, has any weight on the score, what have you, but I will resend that again.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for all that work getting that done. That's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I think just like our methodology, it's going to be a living worksheet. So whatever we do, I try to update it as soon as we get done with our meeting. I did just I received the email from Neil and I sent it to everyone on the NRAC for the updated design work. So we do have that. You should have that already. If not, shoot me an email saying if you can't access it or if you didn't receive it.
Do you think there's any way we could get the correspondence from Donna and OPWC about the eligibility of the others so we don't waste anybody's time?
Sure. What I have here in my notes is, I think, an overall eligibility of the project. And correct me if I'm wrong if I didn't write things down. And as well as whether or not bankruptcy funds are eligible as a match. Is there anything else I was missing?
Both of those would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, the fact that there's no resolution for the city of Camel included in the application.
Okay.
Can you clarify, did Gary say that he was going to try and get something from Camel to resolve that question?
I'm still on, Martha. What was the question again?
Are you going to provide a document from the city of Camel in response to Alex?
The only documents that we have are already with the application. Their support letters and where they signed off on the property restrictions.
Stephanie, and they did send over a letter from the city of Campbell as well, agreeing with we asked for that, and I'm pretty sure they sent that over.
Yeah, everything that I received from the two applications as per our completeness review, everyone should have received an email with those documents or attachments. If there was somebody who didn't receive them, let me know now. I have those three things.
All right. Anything else, anybody, for either project? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you, everyone. See you on the 22nd.
Thank you, everyone.